Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's #1 do-it-yourself advocate show, Timeshares, Solution or Surrender. We are celebrating big this year because we finished our 1 year set of episodes. We're now up to, I think, 53 weeks. That is a phenomenal milestone to hit. But what is more phenomenal is Irene Parker, the founder of Tarda, who takes on the cases with her team. She has a fabulous team. You cannot do this without a team. And she listens to everyone's issues concerning timeshares and their deceptive acts and timeshare exit companies and their deceptive acts, which, by the way, is worse. And she individually helps them look for the resources that they need to help them find a solution. I don't think there's any surrender in Irene, and I want to bring her on board and thank her because we're doing a big in celebration. Hi, Irene. Big protest. You know how excited I am about this.
Well, and it's been just a remarkable journey from February 26, 2024. And our first guest was Taya. And I asked her if she's going to pop in for maybe 5 minutes, and she only has 5 minutes. She's with the Army and a sergeant, I believe. And so she doesn't have a lot of time, but I just asked her to stop in and say hi. She's not going to talk about her timeshare because she's resolved her dispute. So I'm going to introduce our first guest today, which is Tom. And we have a wonderful picture that Tom has provided. So this is Tom, and obviously he's not real happy with Wyndham. And we also have on the show co-founder of Tarda and president of Tarda, Sheila, who last week spent a day at my house and with my 2 computers and my telephone. And we're going to introduce one more person before we get started here, Brittany. And Brittany is fascinating. I've read extensively on Indian culture. And when people post on Facebook, they should just use it and enjoy it. I quote, I think it's a Sioux chief that said, "Don't judge your neighbor until you've walked a mile in their shoes." And so Tom and Sheila can both explain why they just can't use it and enjoy it after what they've been through. So I do want to start with what the protest is going to be about. And I think that we are, see here, okay. And I'm beginning at the end. So at the first, we have hostage, the definition of hostage. And the reason we are protesting is that it was brought to my attention, and this is what set Tom off, is that the ARDA, the American Resort Development Association, is the timeshare industry lobby. And they are having their awards of excellence handed out on March 26th. And Tom is going to be there with his truck. It is not easy to get people to hold up signs. And so this Westgate is going to be the sponsor on Tuesday for Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan is the Marine that was held hostage in Russia. And, oh, sorry, I didn't know I left my phone on. Turn that off, or it will ring constantly. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so Westgate Timeshare Hostages is a Facebook that has grown dramatically. And the all of the finalists for the awards, Wyndham, Holiday Inn, Westgate, and Hilton, Holiday Inn, Westgate, and Wyndham, have been sued, accused of violating the Military Lending Act. So when I heard that this Marine is going to be their guest speaker, I just finished a white paper summarizing 19 active duty service members. I just heard from a number 20 today, whose security clearances are in jeopardy because of timeshare, or else they just can't default because of their security clearance. So I want to start by going over the word hostage. And I just have a feeling they're thinking, oh, well, here's a real hostage. But the definition is someone who is controlled by an outside influence. Tom, would you agree with that with your Wyndham situation?
Absolutely. It's like being caught in a spider web.
Oh, yes. And a person held by one party in a conflict as a pledge pending the fulfillment of an agreement. Okay, now I just want to start with this example. This is one of 14 from an article of March 12, 2024. Navy, 12 years served, father of 4, purchased diamond points, 2,500 points for 12,000. They paid an exit company 6,000. They lost in arbitration, and the judgment against them was $66,000. And at the bottom here, it says it was a 7-hour presentation. They had to decide that day. The kids were restless. They said it was an investment, that when we got ready to buy a home, it would show we have a really great history. Second thoughts, riding back to the room, she asked the agent, if I change my mind tomorrow, what happens? Instead of saying you have 5 days in the state of Nevada to cancel, they said, oh, it's too late. You signed on the dotted line. They were not given a copy of the contract, only a tablet. And so there was another couple that had a $5,000 loan, and the judgment against them was $95,000. They were ordered to pay, I think, $79,000 in the resort's attorney's fees. I reached out to Hilton, and they were able to get that reversed. Instead of someone from Hilton contacting them, they were contacted by the partner of a law firm. And I received this text message from this mom while her husband, the dad, was deployed. I've decided I'm not going to testify on Diamond's behalf. I don't want to go through all that, and I don't know if it will help. I can't in good faith stand on trial and say that Diamond is now the good guys and timeshare compliance is bad. They are all bad, in my opinion. The law firm's partner asked me if I would agree that it was natural for Diamond to place $50,000 attorney's fees on me, and honestly, no, I can't. I'm tired of being used, and if that's the only way they are willing to right the original wrong, I cannot be a part of that, and it shows who they are. So I found that to be, how do you guys react to that? Let's start with Tom.
It's what keeps me from seeking arbitration. I mean, it's to let them judge shop or arbiter shop, and then have the expenses placed on me when they know that I'm going to lose. Yeah, that's unacceptable. I agree with her on her decision.
Now, you've been on the show before, but let's go ahead and talk about how long have you been a Wyndham member?
We originally joined in the old Fairfield, which was in 1998. So we were happy with what we had purchased. Things didn't really get bad till about 2014. Then they started making changes, becoming more aggressive. But the transactions in 2020 and 2021 were the most egregious. They had told us from the beginning, every agent had told us, that you need to rent your points. That way you're not bearing all of the cost. Rent your points, you're not bearing all of the cost. They referred us in 2020 to extra vacations. And pardon the expression, but it is the original crappy deal. They take your points, they rent what they see fit, and they keep 40% of anything that is received. So most of the weeks that we rented, that I rented and gave to them, 3 days maybe were taken, and it's a variable payment schedule. They just offer it up there, and you can tell them what you want to pay for it, and they'll take it, and then they keep 40% of it. So we were losing right and left. So
well, and I've heard that if you turn in enough points for a week, they'll rent out 4 days or 3 days, and then you lose the rest.
That's it. You lose the rest.
Tell me they're not renting that out and pocketing the money.
Well,
and we have Megan is supposed to pop into the show. She's working, but she's going to pop in for a few minutes. Her husband is a Marine, and they were told, don't worry about your husband being deployed to a combat zone. You can rent these out and it will pay for itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been demonstrated over and over again that strategy doesn't work. So go ahead and tell us then the next disaster.
The following year, they really were encouraging us to go to the next level. They said it would make renting your points easier. It would be more convenient to do. And I told them, I said, it's really not, because extra vacations is terrible. And nice people, but as I said, just a terrible deal. And they said, well, hold on a minute now. I have somebody that will make this more streamlined, make it more efficient, and you'll make more money. And they referred me to a person who did that for a living. And we did very well through the first year. We weren't making money. We defrayed probably 30% of our cost, which made the whole project doable. We were never going to make money, but as I said, about 30% made it we could work it within our finances. And January of 2023, I received a cease and desist letter from Wyndham. And when I chased down someone who actually knew what the issue was, because it was an unsigned letter, we had a discussion. I told them my side of the story, and she said, well, if we continue to see anything that we could consider commercial activity on your account, we wait till the day before the reservation goes into effect and we cancel it then. So your people will be traveling, they will arrive and have no room to stay in. And that's what Wyndham Cares told me. So
the department is called Wyndham Cares.
Wyndham Cares. Yeah, that was very. So that ended it for us, and the financial hardship just became greater and greater and greater because we were bearing the entire burden. They maxed out 3 credit cards and gave us a 4th credit card to put our expenses and maintenance fees, our loan payment and maintenance fees on. And we have since canceled that card. So I am actually, as probably the end of February, in default, and we'll just deal with it as it comes. So they're beginning to chase me now, money wise.
And have you taken any of those calls?
I took one in the very beginning, and I told him, I said, I really would like to speak to Wyndham Cares, and she said that she would refer us to the Wyndham Cares department. And I have not heard anything from Wyndham Cares, but getting calls from the same number, which I know is their finance people.
Okay, and we want to make sure we disclose that this rental thing is industry wide.
Yes.
That we have Andrew was on our show, and it's a young couple with a 6-year-old, and they were told that they were sold a 4-bedroom at Westgate, told that they could rent, and which is of course ridiculous. And so they he had 10 years in with the Idaho National Guard, and he was in the process of transferring to the Utah National Guard to be close to his family. And it was a major factor in the decision that he was in default. Now, we did have the Navy commander that, was resolved. And we have, hey, we've got somebody behind you there, Brittany, if you want to introduce him.
I think he ran away.
Yeah. And then we have Blue.
Video. He's been scooting around the floor the whole time. This is my little boyfriend, and this is my daughter, Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
Hi.
Work from home mom. I wear 95 hats. I only get paid for one job.
Well, and one of those hats.
So, yes.
Sheila, I just learned this today, but one of those hats is she just built her first website on GoDaddy.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
And tell us about the Wreath. Is it Wreath for America?
Wreath, no S, Wreath for Veterans.
Wreath for Veterans.
Yeah, it's a local thing we do here in this area. 2017, a few veterans were there to place wreaths on the graves at Christmas time, and there were only 2,000 that were delivered for approximately 17,000 graves. And a little girl was wondering where her grandfather's wreath was to put on his grave, and there weren't enough. So some local veterans started this organization. It's a nonprofit 501c3. And because I homeschool and my kids are always here, we're always looking to get involved into things. And so for the past few years, we have done things for the nursing home and the boxes, they send overseas. So last year we got really involved with the veterans, and in January, they asked me to come on board to be their secretary. So I just created the website and became a part of it. So thank you to all the veterans. So this past year, we were able we brought in 7,000, but we're looking to raise enough money to have 24,000. Right now in North Carolina, our cemetery in Salisbury is the only one that is actually currently burying veterans. All of the other ones are full. So we're trying to raise enough wreaths that every veteran gets a wreath, every grave.
Right. And it was before the show that we discussed your ancestral history, right? We haven't discussed it on the show yet today.
Yes.
And I was mentioning to everyone that when people post on Facebook, well, you should just use it and enjoy it. Tom and Sheila can explain why they can't just use it and enjoy it. But I always quote the Indian, I believe a Sioux chief, that said, never judge your neighbor until you've walked a mile in their shoes. So you stayed at the Powhatan. Did I pronounce that correctly, Sheila?
Powhatan.
And that Powhatan, that's right, Chief Powhatan. Yeah. And that's your grandfather?
Yes, ma'am. So we got into the Wyndham timeshare because my family originates from Chief Powhatan, and I guess it depends on how country you are as to how you say that word. Powhatan. There's so many different ways that people say it, but so last July I took my grandmother because my lineage comes from her. She is the 12th granddaughter from Chief Powhatan.
And where does Pocahontas fit in?
She is his daughter, so we come from his. Pocahontas' sister, Cleopatra, is our grandmother. So Chief Powhatan was their father. So Pocahontas would have been my aunt, in other words.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Really cool. So, and we also.
I just love it at that resort.
It is really cool. And so we went to a Wyndham timeshare. I went by myself. My husband had to stay home and work, but I took my dad and my grandma, my mom, and my sister and my kids, and we went because I wanted my grandmother to see where she come from. Well, actually, she grew up there as a little girl, and we found her childhood home. Where her and my grandfather met was at the Naval Shipyard there in Newport News, Virginia. She had no idea that all of that was right there, and neither did I. So I absolutely fell in love with the place. But I signed up for Wyndham there, and when I got home, nothing was as it was presented to me. I assumed my payments would be only $172 more than I was already paying, and it was almost $700 a month. So for my home and my family, that's a huge financial crisis at the end of 12 months or even 2-3 months. We don't even go on that many vacations. So for 2 months, that's one vacation for us. We wouldn't have needed Wyndham if they were going to cost that much. So I have.
Were you given a copy of the contract?
I was. Well, they emailed it to me, not actually paper. So they did email it to me, and I have called them since July. Every day,
Okay,
week.
but did they email it within the, in Virginia, is it 5 days to cancel? I can't remember.
I think it's 10 days.
In Virginia?
I don't know in Virginia. I know it was 5 days. Because since then I've had many roundabouts with them. With the contract.
But before you go on, they emailed it before or after the contract rescind period?
Before.
Before, okay. So did you look at the contract to see, it would have been on the contract what the payments were supposed to be?
Before I left, I thought I understood everything they were saying. But with retrospect to that, they say you cannot take what the person that you're with says as it is.
Okay, wait a minute. One second. Let me hold that thought. Here comes Taya. Okay, yeah. Taya.
Hi, Tanya.
So, oh, you're looking great.
And nice and sunny out.
Yeah,
a lot better than when I saw you in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
So, it's so great to see you again. And Taya
Thank you.
Went with us to some court hearings, and now the last I heard that number one, you have a baby.
I do, yes.
Wow. Wonderful.
A boy?
Yes, he's about 8 months now.
Oh, okay. I think that's the same age as Danica that was on the show with you before. We were talking about the Marine.
Yep.
Yeah. And so the other thing that is so very exciting is, have you made a decision about law school?
Oh yeah. I am going. I've got accepted into a few of them now. I just need to make the decision on where to go and schedule my classes.
Oh, good.
My gosh. Yeah.
You have to keep us posted on how you're doing on that.
Yeah, and one of the law schools, Tarta wrote a letter of reference for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes. We deeply appreciate everything you've done, like even just being back here today. And you're wearing the same fashion design that you went to court with me at Westgate.
Yeah, it's the new trend.
Yeah, I think that really had an influence. I really do. I'm not just saying that. So it's been a whole year since you've been on our show. Can you believe it?
Oh my gosh, I cannot.
Yeah, and you're a sergeant in the Army?
Yes, staff sergeant, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so when it comes to security clearances and people buying timeshares, I just feel like no matter what timeshare you buy, you really need to do a lot of due diligence and a little bit about military life and and what would you consider might be some things that would be important to consider if you're in the military and buying a timeshare?
I really think the biggest thing is the financial obligation, understanding what it means to buy a timeshare. That is a lifetime commitment. It really is. And yes, there are different ways to get out of your timeshare contract, but until you pay off the full balance of that loan, it is an obligation, and it is a financial burden for a lot of military families.
Yes, and we have just in the last week, we had someone who purchased from Blue Green, and his payments are $676 a month. And the maintenance fees are $1,000 more than they told him that the maintenance fees would not increase very much, and they increased by 1,000. So he couldn't pay the maintenance fees, and he's now paying $670 a month and can't use it.
Yes. Yep.
And then worse is we have another Air Force, 6 years served. He was 5 years served, and she is defaulting with a security clearance. And
That's hard.
the worst part is that she was referred by Holiday Inn to Timeshares Only, and Timeshares Only is owned by Bert Blitzer, who's the former chairman of the timeshare industry lobby, ARDA. She had, oh, good, look at this, this is great. We couldn't, okay. Kim, can you bring Megan on the screen? Let's see if we can, there she is. Hi, Megan. Are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, okay. So you remember Taya from when you were on the show before, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah. So and your husband is a Marine, and we're really glad to have you back again. So Taya was just telling us about her son is 8 months old. How old is Danica now?
She's 9 months today, actually.
Wow.
Okay, all right. And Dad's a Marine. So Taya was just going over some of the things that you need to consider if you're in the military and buying a timeshare. And I just referenced someone in the Air Force for 5 years that they told him his maintenance fees wouldn't go up. It went up 1,000. So he's paying $670 a month and not even able to use it. And then in Holiday Inn, they were referred to a listing company, and you can't sell a timeshare with a loan outstanding. And so she lost another $1,000. If she had called a licensed broker, they would have told her that they wouldn't have even accepted the listing if there was a timeshare loan outstanding. But Taya, I know you have to get back to work. You promised us 5 minutes. So, but it's so great. We really appreciate you coming back, and we're going to follow your career very closely.
Thank you. I really appreciate all your guys' time, and I look forward to still volunteering with you guys.
Yes, good.
Okay.
Good, Taya. Bye.
Bye-bye. And so Megan, since you've been home, since you've been on the show, Dad's returned home, right?
Yeah, he got home about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, and you're in a situation now. Let me go back with you on the screen, because this is what this entire show is about. And I don't think you have seen this, but I would like for your opinion on this. Okay, this is worth going over a second time. Let's see here. Present. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I think it's down here. I already have it. I'm still learning here. Okay. Okay. So we're going to do a protest. I know it's not easy to get to from Utah. So, but what we had here is we have a Marine who was on the show, national television. He was held as a hostage in Russia. And Westgate is the sponsor of him being a guest speaker at ARDA's Awards of Excellence. And Wyndham, Blue Green, Wyndham, Hilton, Holiday Inn, and Westgate are finalists for the Excellence Awards. And the Westgate Timeshare Hostages Facebook group has over 4,000 members. And we had the definition for hostage, which it's not just someone that's been taken captive in a war. It's also a person held by one party in a conflict as a pledge pending the fulfillment of an agreement. And we had this active duty Navy family where they sold them not enough points for a family of 6. And when she said, what if I changed my mind tomorrow, instead of telling her about the 5-day cancellation period, they said it's too late. And then he's active duty, father of 4, dad was deployed, and they lost in arbitration, and there was a $66,000 judgment disputing a $12,000 loan. And then they basically tried to tell her they wouldn't do anything for her unless she would testify against the company that she had signed up with. So tell us a little bit where you're at with your situation. Have you had any contact from Wyndham lately? And I told people before you came on that you were told, and Tom, I didn't mention either. Tom retired 23 years with the Baltimore County Police Department, and he tried the extra holidays that you tried, and it didn't work at first. And then he was sold more points, saying, we have someone that can help you. And it worked. And he received a cease and desist letter accusing him of commercial activity. So tell us a little bit, for people that haven't heard your experience, and what this is, how this has affected your family.
Yeah, so the first time I was on here, I kind of shared that the only reason we entered into a contract was because we were assured and reassured that we could do the same thing, that we could use the points to rent out, and that it would be enough to cover our fees. I was pregnant with Danica at the time. We had 2 toddlers, and my husband was getting ready for another deployment. So I expressed all of that to our sales agent. I told her it was not a good time for us to do this. I expressed concern over the fees, and that we could not afford it, especially when we're not able to use it. And that's what we were told. We were very ignorant to timeshare in general, like what it was, how they worked. So in retrospect, I wish we would have walked away then and there. I wish we would have taken the night and then revisited it the next day and done our homework. But they are good at what they do. They really put the pressure on us to do it that day. And we just kind of felt like, with a name as big as Wyndham, that there should be some trust there. It wasn't a company that we've never heard of before. Like, what if I feel like if it was like Westgate, I'd be like, I've never heard of Westgate. I don't know what it is. Don't know who they are. I'm going to do a little bit of research. Wyndham, everyone knows Wyndham. So we felt like, okay, if this person's representing such a big, well-known name, there should be a level of trust there. And that's where we went wrong. So we signed the contract, life getting ready for a deployment with young children. I didn't even look at anything until past the period of when we could get out, which we weren't informed of that either, that there was a certain time frame that we could get out of it. We thought, well, the contract signed, that's that. Donovan deployed and she came and I had a little bit more time to kind of catch my breath. That's when I went into the extra holidays to try and figure out, okay, how do we rent out all these points so that we can get these fees covered? And ended up losing a lot of points because they told us that they had been booked. And then after that 15-day period where we couldn't take them back because they had been booked, the renters canceled. So I couldn't take the points back. They were no longer rented out. And that date passed. So we just lost all those points and didn't get anything paid for them. The second time I tried it, it did get rented. Nowhere near what our annual fees were. So needless to say, it didn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, and we have two, before you came on, I talked about Andrew. I think I've introduced you to Andrew, who bought a 4-bedroom, was sold a 4-bedroom as a rental investment for a young couple with a 6-year-old. We also have in Utah, Brett. And Brett said he's considering flying here from Utah to join you in Orlando to protest. He is 100% disabled veteran, homeschooling his kids. And it was the same thing, upsold to rent, driven to default. And there's a lot of veterans. Yeah, there's a lot of veterans that keep their security clearance because they work in military related fields post-service. And we also had the person that built the TARTA website, Gary, a Vietnam veteran. And again, Brett and you and Gary, all over 20 years, happy with Wyndham. And to treat 3 of your highest loyalty customers this way, to basically drive you to default, I'm sure you have never encountered anything like this in your life, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
There's been so many things that they've done wrong. So many things they've done wrong. So
yeah. So you can't default either, can you, Megan?
We haven't even looked into it because, like you just mentioned, with Donovan's job, which is why he's not even on here, like just the nature of what he does, he can't be on such a large platform. But yeah, he's got security clearances and stuff, and we can't put ourselves in a financial situation that could compromise that. So, it is difficult. I ended up still working full time through his deployment with our 3 kids. And a large part of that decision was this.
Because of that?
Yeah, because it got to a point during the deployment where we both were like, it would be great if you could just focus on being mom. Like if I could just single mom, 6 months, like it'd be really nice to just be able to focus on that. And then going through our finances, we were like, we just can't do it because the whole reason you can hear it. The whole reason we went through with it, like I said, was because we were under the impression that on the years where we weren't even planning to use it, we wouldn't be paying for it because it would be paying for itself.
And I had a few sleepless nights because you told me he was under fire 3 times during his deployment. So, I mean, that's 3 people just in Utah. But what we're doing is what's really important is we have the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in Steins versus Westgate. You have Fannie Mae that says a timeshare loan is not a mortgage. You have the National Credit Union Administration, NCUA, saying it's not a mortgage. You have Blue Green sued in 2015, sued Blue Green, Experian, and Equifax by the law firm Finn Law Group. Mike Finn's been on the show 3 times in the past. And they were forced in settlement to remove foreclosure from 11,000 accounts and not call it foreclosure because it's not real estate. Under the Military Lending Act, home mortgages are exempt. So that means if she goes back to the lower court and Judge Dalton ended the lower court when I was there. When you check out of a timeshare, you can't leave your underwear and toothpaste, as a, you know, as a good analogy why it's not a home loan. And yet you have, now we did have, Megan, a Navy commander that had a dispute. She was paying $1,200 a month from 2017, then refinanced to 15 years. It was still a struggle at $600 a month, and she has resolved her dispute. She was a Navy commander. I mean, it's not every day a Navy commander calls me and says, I'm shaking, you know. I mean, and last week, Kim asked me, Irene, what keeps you going? It's obviously a very frustrating volunteer opportunity here. And it's calls like that. It's seeing people that are made whole again. And so what I just yesterday sent to the Federal Trade Commission, the list of 19 military families. Tom, you're mentioned in Brett's because Brett gave an example of how extra holidays didn't work, you know, for him as well. And so we just need to, I don't know if the Federal Trade can do it at a federal level, but it is so, and Marriott responded to one person on the list saying that our loans are exempt from the Military Lending Act. Well, how can they be exempt if you're buying from Marriott, but they're not exempt if you're buying from Westgate? And then you had Blue Green that said, we disagree. You know, it's like all these people above the law. But Megan, I know you're working today, right? Still, and you don't have a whole lot of time. But Brittany, if you could go ahead and whenever you have to drop off, Megan, that's fine. Brittany was just telling us about how you were the one, Brittany, where they told you that they gave you bonus points, told them that you could turn it into cash. But I think Tom and Megan would be very inspired by what you said was a positive conversation you had with someone at Wyndham, if you could continue with that. Oh, we can't.
I muted
Yeah, you're muted.
Yeah. I'm like Megan, I got kids in the background, so I'm trying to mute it when I'm not speaking. But my list of things with Wyndham that went wrong is very long. But I will say, after talking to person after person after person, I finally got one that gave me an address to, actually, I'm not really sure what, but it's the highest. I said, I don't really care who I speak to, but I want the highest level I can go. I would go to the owner and I would go to their feet, because I don't want any other old person, any other mom, any other parent, anybody else to go through what I have gone through. And I have to have help. I mean, it's ruining my home, my relationships, our finances. It's ruining my credit. I worked really hard not to have any of those problems. And so he was kind enough to give me the address of, or, you know, to where I could mail a letter that Miss Irene helped me edit. And so I did that, and I got a call. And I spoke with him last week, and he's the first person, and I've already had a case that got denied because I missed that rescind period. I did not know there was a time frame.
Well, wait a minute, though. I don't think it would be in the contract that we're giving you bonus points and you can turn those in to convert to cash.
Apparently, it's not a thing.
Yeah, well, see, but reading the contract wouldn't help.
Right.
And the rescission period wouldn't help because you wouldn't try to do that while you're on a short vacation.
You're not going to read that while you're trying to spend time with your family. No.
Well, even if you had, but the point, very important point, even if you had, that would not have been in the contract. I'm quite certain.
Yeah,
you know, that,
right.
You know,
they
bonus
were very
points.
Specific to tell me to wait until I got home.
Exactly.
So that was a good point to put in there. They said specifically wait till you get home to call. Well, that was on them, because then my rescission period would have been over. So it's a lot. But once I got that letter, they called and said, you have a very good case, because every point that I have given them is something that could be used in helping some way to help me. So it was just, it's been a lot of things, and it's been a very long however many months now that I've had to battle it. But I'm hopeful, and we've been praying really hard that something comes out of it. So.
Well, and yesterday I introduced someone who owed Wyndham $5,000 a month. Seema's been on our show, so I can use her name. $5,000 a month. She just retired as a nurse. I introduced to someone who has loans of $335,000 with Hilton. And Seema is just flipping out because she said, just like you, Brittany, I found someone, he's a director of sales, and he said that, he's really tired of all this deception. I'm like, oh, wonder, finally we get an honest guy. And his final answer is, oh, no problem. We can reduce you from 100,000 or whatever to 24,000 points. All you have to do is sign this for an additional $65,000 loan.
Same happened to me. So when I finally got a hold of somebody, they had me to sign a new contract. So not only did I have the one contract, they talked me into a second contract that was supposed to offset the first contract. It's been a mess. So that one did get canceled, but the first contract is still pending and still in case. But it was only supposed to be $272 a month. Like I said, it went to almost $700 a month. And for my family, that's a lot of money. I don't need that kind of, I can pay that on a vacation in 3 months. That's $2,100. I'm not going to spend that much for a condo for me and my 2 kids to go somewhere. So, they really do deceive you.
Yes, and then over half the people that contact us, and Sheila can talk about this, have lost money to exit scams. And I don't think we're going to have enough time today. I think we only got through a half of what I wanted to talk about today. But Sheila spent time at my nerve center here, a whole day with me. And we got a brand new person that had been referred, and this listing agency, like, we talk about timeshares only because they're not refunding anyone, but this particular listing agencies, there's 5 or 6 of them, they have refunded, but this one was really egregious. We had Judy Carlson on talking about hers, and she's being refunded, but this was really egregious because she had Hilton deeds. And Hilton, Kimberly, I don't know, I don't think I discussed this with you. They offered to buy her deeds for $8,000.
Yeah.
Now, so instead she thought, well, but I paid $40,000. So I explained to her, I said, look, it's Hilton. If it was Blue Green, you would have to pay them 18 months of maintenance fees. So if you had $10,000 in fees, you'd have to pay them $15,000 to give it back. So they charged her $5,000 to list. I don't know what that is. $5,000 to list at $35,000. So I referred her to Judy Kozlowski, who would have told her, if you have a loan outstanding, even if you were selling it reasonably, she wouldn't have accepted the listing. But Judy researched it, and she said with her points, 9,920 for a 1-bedroom, there has not been one sale in 15 months. Plus, so she paid $5,000, plus she paid $4,000 in maintenance fees, and of course it hasn't sold. She dropped it to $20,000, and of course it hasn't sold. And so now, I mean, it's just a nightmare, just a nightmare. So Sheila, go ahead, and you saw me. It took us a long time to unravel it because it was about Hilton and the listing company. And but yeah, you feel free to talk a little bit about your favorite timeshare club, Exploria, and Timeshares Only.
Yes. I'm fighting Exploria right now. I've bought a few of them, so and won a couple, but and now I'm with Exploria, and I have quite a few medical problems, and they're not going to get better. I cannot travel much longer, and I have a hard time getting upstairs and everything and walking. I'm in the beginning of Parkinson's, and I have a severe neuropathy. But they won't take back anybody's. And I have fought with them and fought with them, and they said, well, let's give it to a family member, or we can send you to timeshares only. They are preferred by Exploria and also by ARDA. So I said, listen, I wouldn't give, I would not ever give it to my worst enemy. I think that when I talked to timeshares only, I talked to a guy named Nelson, and I've seen quite a few people have said they talked to Nelson. I did ask him if he was a real estate agent. He said no, which is against the law to give anybody a price of what they could get for their timeshare.
Well, they say they got around that because they're a listing agency and they're not a real estate broker, so they don't have to abide by real estate laws.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, whatever. I'm not, I didn't ever answer his call back. So I'm still fighting with Exploria, and I will continue to fight with them. Yeah. But I did sit with Irene the other day. And yes, there were quite a few calls and people texting in to her, and she is a busy lady.
She is.
Sometimes
She is more intense than Dog the Bounty Hunter, which was probably the only show that if I were scrolling, my eyes would catch it and I would just be drawn in, even though I hated the show. But I love Irene. I mean, you love Irene, but it's like you get drawn into because it's real. It's real people
listening.
having real struggles. Now, I want to bring up something about the exit companies. I don't know, we don't have much time, but just be careful because they call me a lot lately. I don't know why, but they call me and they go, oh, we no, it's not the exit companies. It's the ones renting out your points. Be careful with them, because what they'll do is they'll go, okay, we're going to give you $8,000 for your 6 weeks. We already sold it. We already have the money. All we need for you to do is go cash them out for us, and then we'll buy them from you at a guaranteed rate of, $1,500 a week or whatever. But their complete lie is I'm going to get back 8,000, but I've got to pay 3,000. But the thing is they can't guarantee it. Like they might sell, like you heard the story earlier, maybe 2 days of all of that. And then you're stuck with the 3,000 you just sold on top of what you pay already, on top of the fees. It's a complete scam. Do not go to these rental companies. Don't do it. Sorry.
Well, and here, this what I'm presenting on the screen, I'm going to try to get it in. I sent this to Nick, Pod TV's attorney, producer, and to Mike Finn, who's been on, with a warning, don't read before going to bed at night. And Mike responded that this was not for the faint-hearted to read. Listen to this. This is Villas at Fortune Place, which is a DM management, which includes Vacation Village and Great Eastern. That what happens when you stop paying maintenance fees? The resort will turn you into collections, garnish your wages, put a lien on your personal property, which is in your timeshare deed contract. This company was referred to, the actual timeshare referred to this charter, and charter is the only legal guaranteed solution through your to be exited. And then the other thing they had here is, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, please call Joe. When you convert your deed, okay, so that's not worth seeing on that. But it's like, that is just completely erroneous. And all 50 states have laws that allow you to disclaim an inheritance is the word I'm looking for. But Kim, you're talking about those getaway weeks, where we've been getting multiple calls about that as well. But anyway,
it's not just the getaway weeks. What they tell you is that they've pre-sold your weeks to conventions that rent from them. But what people don't understand is the people who buy those weeks have to attend a meeting. Those weeks, those resellable weeks, or weeks that you can use, they call them bonus weeks. Those are weeks that anyone who uses them have to attend a meeting. But what they do is they tell you, we've already pre-sold them to conventions. So they're bonus weeks is what they told me. So
yeah,
the getaway
it's just
weeks
such
are
bad.
They're another scam. It's all scams.
So
There's
if
nothing good with owning a timeshare, I promise you, nothing.
and Kim is going to be joining us in Orlando.
I am.
And we're gonna, and Sheila, you know that it is not easy to get people to hold up signs, but it really was an interesting experience. And so Brittany and Megan, if you want to take a Orlando vacation and have your voices heard, tell your friends.
Yeah.
Well, also, I'm going to be attending a veterans protest in DC on the 14th. It's the veterans who are standing up and protesting against the president and all of the things that he has done that they feel like is hurting them. And so the Marines have pulled this together. Gotta love the Marines. But all of they have been, all of the branches are uniting, and they are going on march. So my whole march is full of
a march.
Yes. And from the beginning to the end, I have been doing nothing but protests. I mean, I didn't start this way. A month ago, I had no idea I was going to any of these.
What are they protesting? What are the veterans protesting in Washington, D.C.?
The cuts that the president has made, because the VA cut that they did, it has stopped volunteers from being able to drive veterans to their necessary appointments, or just to even meet other veterans. The military veterans cuts that they have done. Also, cancer research. They have cut the funding for cancer research, which actually has hurt me, as well as many other veterans. And then they have cut hospice funding, which, if anyone has ever used hospice, it's one of the most giving programs available to any human life. And so they have cut, and now they're talking about cutting other benefits. They swear up and down, Trump's up, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to, but they have cut, as well as the consumer financial protection. So they're going after, and they've got a list of things that they think isn't right, that is not fair to not just the military, but everything they fought for this country. So,
well, okay.
March 14th,
and we're down
to 1 minute.
We're down to our last 1 minute. Does anybody have any final comments? And we'll be following along with Tom on his adventures. And Tom, quickly though, you've been driving your pickup truck with this sign up and down in Daytona. Can you give us any comments about how that has, what kind of comments you get, and how
it's been interesting. You get a lot of points, and stopped at a traffic light, and I won't repeat the comment verbatim, but the one guy said, somebody really upset you. Yes, yes. I wish you could stop and explain to them what actually happened. But yeah, I was going to say that's what they said. Somebody really upset you. Yep.
Yeah.
And you're all good people.
Hmm?
Well, the thing is that it's happening more and more. They've twisted their sales. They hold people hostage in the sales. And these stories, every story that I have heard so far, it's becoming more and more consistent, right? And I think what we need to do is just say, you know what? I don't think they need to have timeshares anymore. I think they need to refund everybody.
Actually, next week's guest has a better way. Okay, so Volca next week, they're going to talk about a better way for timeshares.
1 p.m. next week, folks. We look forward to seeing you. If you've got a problem, scan the code up there and text us. Irene will get to you. I promise she gets to everybody. You are amazing, Irene, and I want to thank you for doing everything, the whole team, for participating in what we're doing. And I hope to see all of you at the protest.
I'll answer these questions next week. I'm seeing on the right. I
March
was so
23rd through the 26th, people.
Yes.
We're protesting. Hi. So I want to share with you the protest. I wasn't going to put it on your show, but I did it to piss somebody off on another show. The protest for the veterans coming up, because I think it's very important that I want you to see what this ad looks like, so that maybe we can work on something for you. But I don't know why I can't find it now.
Can I still answer these people? I didn't see them texting in.
Let's see. Yeah, you can. I'll send you the link and you can answer them on.
You can answer them on YouTube and everything.
Actually, scan that code, and they'll answer you. You can answer them if you scan that code. It'll take your phone. Go to click on the YouTube link, and it'll take you right to where they are. It's really cool. Okay. This code that I've got. It allows people to scan from, like, if they're watching it on Amazon, they can scan that code now and go straight to where they can text live.
I'll say, so I click YouTube here.
Click YouTube.
Yes.
You should be able. Yeah.
Okay.
You should be able to.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
All right.
I know I've been busy. I know it doesn't seem like I do a lot, but I do.
So I see you're traveling all the time. I saw you with Mark at the at whatever you guys were
gorgeous photo of the
Kim, this says we're still live.
Well, because it's probably running a couple minutes.
Actually, you still are. You didn't hit the end.
Oh.